students, my name is Niyati Said and thanks for watching Edipedia word videos. My topic for the presentation is the second section of the chapter Excretion and Osmoregulation, or excretory products and their elimination. Okay. In this we'll be studying about the human excretory system. Okay. So let's proceed towards our topic, that is human excretory organs, okay, or human excretory system. So it is seen that in humans there are two types of excretory organs are found. Which are those? First is accessory excretory organ and another is main excretory organ. Okay. Skin and lungs, they are accessory excretory organs. In addition to the urinary system, the skin, lungs and liver of vertebrates, they are accessory excretory organs. Okay. So we'll be studying about the lungs first. Okay. Lungs, they are the main respiratory organs of the vertebrate, students. And lungs, they help to eliminate the entire volume of the carbon dioxide produced in the body as well as some moisture during expiration. The lungs, they maintain the blood gas homeostasis through elimination of carbon dioxide. When lungs fail to eliminate enough carbon dioxide, the kidneys, they attempt to compensate. They change some of the carbon dioxide into sodium bicarbonate, which becomes part of the blood buffer system. Okay, so lungs, in lungs, carbon dioxide is a catabolic waste product which is formed due to the oxidation of the food releasing energy. It is carried by the blood to the lungs. And during expiration, this is the process of the breathing, inhalation and expiration. So during expiration, this carbon dioxide along with a small quantity of water vapor is expelled out of the lungs. And that's the reason lungs, they are considered as accessory excretory organs. Okay. Now comes skin. Skin, we very well know that human skin possesses glands for secreting two fluids on its surfaces, namely sweat from the sweat glands and sebum from sebaceous glands. Sweat is a watery fluid that contains in solid primarily contains sodium chloride, lactic acid, urea, amino acids and glucose. It helps in excreting mainly water and sodium chloride and a small amount of urea and lactic acid. Okay. So the skin of the aquatic animals is permeable and excretory waste pass out by diffusion process. Okay. In terrestrial animals, the skin is very less permeable and the excretory products, they pass out only through ducts and pores. Okay. Human skin has two kinds of glands that perform the function of excretion. Okay, so that's the reason skin is considered as accessory excretory organ. Okay, now comes sweat glands. Sweat glands, they are long, they are tubular and they are coiled at their ends. Okay, and it is located in the dermis of the skin, which is embedded in the subcutaneous tissue. They produce a watery fluid called sweat, which consists of 98% water and 2% solid residue. Now, if the question comes, what's the percentage of sweat constituents, then you can say that sweat consists of 98% water and 2% solid residue. Okay. Organic such as urea, uric acid, creatinine, volatile fatty acids, these are the organic that they expel out by sweat glands. And what are the inorganic such as NaCl, potassium chloride and glucose. Okay. Now comes sebaceous gland. As I have told you that the skin has two main glands. First is sweat gland and another is sebaceous gland. Sweat gland we just read. Now comes the sebaceous gland. Students, sebum is a wax-like secretion which helps to excrete some lipids such as wax, such as sterol and other hydrocarbons and fatty acids on the skin. So the sebaceous glands, they are attached to the hair follicle, and each gland consists of a small branched alveoli which produces an oily or waxy substance which we call it as sebum. As I have told you that sebum is a wax-like secretion which helps to excrete some lipids such as wax, sterol and other hydrocarbons and fatty acids on the skin. So the excretory substances like wax, sterol, fatty acids and traces of other hydrocarbons, they are eliminated along with the sebum. Okay. Now till here we have read accessory excretory organs. Now next accessory excretory organ is liver. Bile pigments such as biliverdin and bilirubin, they are produced as a result of breakdown of hemoglobin in graveyard known as spleen, in which the worn out RBCs in the liver becomes dead, and that's the reason spleen is considered as graveyard of RBCs, that is red blood cells in the liver, and they are excreted with the bile into duodenum and removed along with the feces. Okay. Liver also excretes cholesterol. Okay, it also excretes cholesterol, various inactivated products of steroid hormones and the harmful products like alcohol, nicotine and several drugs. The liver is also responsible for converting ammonia produced by deamination process. We'll be studying what is deamination in detail, okay? But for the time being, just know that the liver is responsible for converting harmful ammonia which is produced by deamination process into less toxic urea by combining it with carbon dioxide, okay? Now till here we have read accessory excretory organs. Now we'll be studying main excretory organs. Okay, that is kidney. Okay, the excretory system of man consists of following organs such as kidney, ureter, urinary bladder and urethra. Okay, so we'll be studying kidney first. See, this is the human excretory pair of kidney. These two are kidney, pair of ureter, okay, and urinary bladder, and this is our urethra, okay. Now, what is deamination process? As I have told you that in liver, the ammonia is broken down into less toxic urea, okay, by the process known as deamination. Okay, so in the liver, deamination is the process which breaks down excess amino acids into ammonia and keto acids. Ammonia is still very toxic, so it is converted to urea by the process called urea synthesis. Urea is very less toxic than ammonia. Ammonia is very, very toxic and so can travel in the blood, but it must got rid of quickly because it can still have ill effects also. Okay, so urea is then transported by blood from the liver to the kidneys, where it forms part of urine. Okay, now we'll be studying kidney in detail. Okay, so kidney, they are in pair. Okay, they are in pair and they are situated in humans in the abdominal cavity. Kidneys are attached dorsally to the body wall, one on the either side of the vertebral column. Ventrally, if we see, then they are covered by parietal peritoneum. Okay, so this layer is known as parietal peritoneum, the outer one layer. And hence they are called as retroperitoneal in position. And that's the reason kidneys are considered as retroperitoneal in position. Students, the right kidney is slightly lower than the left one by 1.25 centimeter due to liver. Because of the liver, the right kidney is slightly lower than the left kidney by 1.25 centimeters. That means just half inch, you can say. The human kidney is metanephric type. Each kidney is crimson red in color and bean shaped. It is 10 centimeter in length and 5 to 6 centimeter in width, and just 3 to 4 centimeter in thickness. It weighs around 1.50 grams in adult male and around 135 gram in adult females. Okay, that means in males it weighs around 150 grams and in females it weighs around 135 grams. Okay. So our kidney has two main functions, which are those that it removes metabolic waste from the body through the process of excretion, and it regulates the water and the iron content in the blood. So it regulates two main functions, which are those: first is that it removes metabolic waste, and second, that it regulates water and iron content in the blood. The excretion is of a dilute solution called urine, which contains urea, mineral ions, water, and other foreign chemicals from the blood. The two kidneys, they have a very extensive blood supply, and the whole blood supply passes through the kidney every 5 minutes, and thus it ensures that waste materials don't build up. Now the renal artery. This is the renal artery. The pink one is a renal artery. It carries blood to the kidney, and the renal vein, it carries blood away from the kidney. The most important part of the kidney is a nephron. Nephron is a structural or functional unit of kidney. Okay. And just note that it shows a notch at the inner margin. Our kidney, they show a notch in the inner margin. See, this is the inner notch, which we call it as Hylas renalis. Okay, the renal artery and the nerve, they enter the kidney through Hylas. This is our Hylas. This inner notch is our Hylas renalis, in which the renal artery and nerves, they enter the kidney. Okay, and renal vein and ureter, they leave the kidney through Hylas. Of course, through Hylas the renal artery enters the kidney, and through Hylas renal vein, it moves out of the kidney. Okay. Students, renal artery, they carry oxygenated blood to the kidney, and the renal vein, it takes away deoxygenated blood towards inferior vena cava. Okay. Each kidney is covered by fibrous connective tissue, which we call it as renal capsule. Okay, see, this is renal capsule. That means each kidney is covered by fibrous connective tissue. This is the fibrous connective tissue, and which we call it as renal capsule. It protects kidney from infection and injuries. Surrounding the renal capsule is a layer of fat, which we call it as adipose capsule. This is adipose capsule, okay, which is then surrounded by fibrous membrane, which we call it as renal fascia, okay, which we call it as renal fascia. Now students, what is the function of kidney? We have studied what kidney is all about. Now what are the functions of the kidney? Kidney, they carry out excretion, that is removal of the nitrogenous metabolic waste. These metabolic waste are useless and harmful, and they produce toxic effects on the body. They help in osmoregulation. I mean kidneys, they help in osmoregulation. And third is that the kidneys, they maintain acid-base balance of blood. And kidneys, they remove excess of foreign substances like drugs and pigments. And kidneys, they also help in homeostasis. Okay, so moving on forward, let's know the amazing facts of kidney. Kidney function as a pair of filters through which about 1 liter of blood circulates each time. That means in a minute, the kidney functions as a pair of filters through which about 1 liter of blood circulates every time, each minute. Okay. Second amazing fact is that the entire blood in the body passes through them in 5 to 6 minutes. That means in every 5 to 6 minute cycle, the entire blood of the body passes through a pair of kidneys. Third amazing fact is that in a day, it filters about 1800 liters of blood, which is 400 times the blood volume. And tea, coffee and alcohol, such as beverages, they increase the formation of urine. They are termed as diuretics. Okay. As I have told you that nephrons, they are the basic structural and functional unit of kidney. So the human kidney contains more than 1.2 million nephrons. When a kidney is damaged or diseased, the other kidney is able to compensate for it. That means a normal person can survive only with one kidney throughout its life. Okay, so this is the amazing fact, students. And a normal adult excretes 1 to 1.8 liters of urine per day. Okay, now moving on forward to ureters. As I have told you that the excretory system of man consists of following organs, which are those: kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder and urethra. Kidneys we have just read. Now moving on forward to ureter, and after ureter we'll study about the urinary bladder and urethra. But first we'll study ureters. Okay, so as I have shown you the pic also, that ureters, they are pair of the narrow ducts, about 10 inches or 30 to 40 centimeter long they are. That means their length is about 30 to 40 centimeter. And their diameter is 6 mm. Each ureter arises from the kidney through a notch at the inner margin, which we call it as Hylas. as I have shown you in that diagram, that Hylas is the inner notch through which renal artery moves into the kidney and the renal vein moves out of the kidney. Okay, so that is Hylas. So from that Hylas, each ureter arises from the kidney through a notch at the inner margin, which we call it as Hylas. Ureter is the continuation of the renal pelvis, and it is lined internally by transitional epithelium. Let me show you the diagram once again. See, this is renal pelvis. This is renal pelvis. So the ureter, this is the ureter. Okay, so ureter is the continuation of renal pelvis, and it is lined internally by transitional epithelium, students. Okay, the ureters, they run posteriorly and obliquely open into urinary bladder. That means each kidney has one ureter. See, this is the ureter, and this is the left kidney, and likewise right kidney will be there, and through that also ureter will be arising. And these ureters, these two ureters, they join at the end and forms a urinary bladder. Okay, we'll be studying about the urinary bladder also. So the ureter, as I have told you, that their wall is made up of layer of transitional epithelium, which is surrounded by the layer of muscle fiber, which is followed by the layer of fibrous connective tissue. Now, what is the function of ureters? They carry urine from kidneys to the urinary bladder. That means they conduct urine from the kidney to the urinary bladder by peristaltic contractions. Okay, by the peristaltic contraction, they conduct urine from the kidneys to the urinary bladder. Okay, now moving on forward to urinary bladder. Urinary bladder is a single, large and muscular and bag-like structure which is situated medially in the pelvic cavity. It is pear-shaped sac which is situated in the pelvic region of the abdominal cavity. Its wall is made up of transitional epithelium and a smooth muscle which we call it as detrusor muscle. This detrusor muscle and transitional epithelium make the bladder distensible. Okay, this makes the bladder distensible, and that's how it gains size and how it reduces to its normal size. That is distensibility. Okay, so the detrusor muscle in the urinary bladder and the transitional epithelium which is present in the urinary bladder, it makes the bladder distensible. The ureter, they carry urine and open into bladder, and on the lower posterior side of the bladder it shows a triangular area which we call it as trigone. But we won't be focusing on the trigone. Just know that urinary bladder, amazing fact is that it can store up to 0.5 to 1 liter of urine. It receives the ureter through the lower part of the back wall, and the lower part or the neck of the bladder is guarded by 2 rings of muscle fibers which we call it as sphincters. Both the sphincters, they must relax to let urine pass out of the bladder. Okay, and the act of voiding of urine is called as maturation. Maturation will be studying in detail. Okay, students. Now another question arises: what's the function of urinary bladder? Urinary bladder, it stores urine temporarily, and it can store about half a liter to 1 liter of urine at a time. And second function is that it serves as a reservoir for water to prevent dehydration from the condition of dryness. Let me show you the diagram of urinary bladder. See, this is the urinary bladder. which is pear-shaped, sac-like, and it is medially located in the pelvic cavity. Okay, and its wall is made up of transitional epithelium and smooth muscle, which we call it as detrusor. So this detrusor muscle and the transitional epithelium, it makes the bladder distensible. And urinary bladder, it stores urine temporarily, and it can store about half a liter to 1 liter of urine at a time, and it serves as a reservoir for water to prevent dehydration under the condition of dryness. Now after urinary bladder, we'll be studying about the urethra. See, this is the urethra. Okay, it is a single duct that arises from the lower end of the trigone in the urinary bladder. This is the trigone part, okay, and this is the urethra. Trigone is a part of urinary bladder, okay, but urethra is completely a different part. Now let's move on to urethra. This is urethra. Urethra is a single duct that arises from the lower end of the trigone in the urinary bladder. The opening is guarded by urethral sphincters. Sphincters are like gates. Okay. The superior or internal sphincter is involuntary. That means it is not in the control of human beings. And that's the reason they are made up of smooth muscles. An external or inferior sphincter is voluntary, and it is made up of striated muscles. In males, it is seen that urethra is longer, around 18 to 20 centimeters in length, and it passes through the penis to open at its tip. But in females, the urethra is comparatively very shorter. It is around 4 centimeters long, and it opens separately in front of vagina in the vestibule. Okay, so let's see once again that urethra, it starts from the neck of the urinary bladder and it leads to the exterior. And maturation takes place by urethra. That means maturation means act of voiding of urine outside the body is known as maturation. So the maturation takes place through urethra. In females, it is very shorter in length, about 2 to 3 centimeters long, and it carries only urine. And it opens by the urethral orifice or urinary aperture in the vulva in front of the vaginal aperture, as I have told you. And in males, it is comparatively longer in size. It is about 20 centimeters long, and it carries urine as well as spermatic fluid. It passes through the penis and opens out at the tip of the penis by a urinogenital aperture. Now, what are the functions of urethra? In males, urethra is a common passage for urine as well as semen to exterior. Whereas in female, urethra, it carries only urine. Okay, and by urethra, expulsion of urine from the urinary bladder takes place, which we call it as maturation, and it is a reflex process, but in grown-up children and adults it can be controlled voluntary to some extent. Okay, so we have just read the human excretory system, which consists of kidney, ureters, urinary bladder and urethra. Okay, we have studied each one in detail. So this was all about human excretory system. Thank you, and keep watching Edupedia Word videos.